Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we get a Hyena class droid bomber preview for Star Wars X-Wing Wave 4, which is supposed to be coming out early June, by the way, so much closer than some of you may have expected, which means we're only a few short weeks away from Wave 4 hitting your store shelves. Very excited about this. I've got a couple of these things on pre-order, so hopefully I'll be able to bring to you some unboxings, maybe even before they hit store shelves, because sometimes when you pre-order stuff from FFG, it happens to arrive just a little bit early. That's very cool. So hopefully you will subscribe, click that bell for alerts so you don't miss out when new stuff does get populated. Also, I am doing a big new giveaway, if you didn't already know. It's for the Star Wars Celebration exclusive Black Series Maul and Obi-Wan in the 6-inch, the Star Wars Black Series line. Those are that's running all the way until the end of May, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Yeah, all you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into what they showed us from this Hyena class droid bomber, because we got a cool couple of looks. All right, we were seeing the dial here. We do have the one straight. We've got all the ones. We got the hard one turn. We've got the one bank that's red. We've got the 2 Talon roll, which is pretty cool. We got a 5 straight, so we can go really fast or really slow. Although the 5 straight's red. It's weird that that our hard turns are easier than our banks. So our 2 hard turn is green of all things, but then our 2 bank is white. Just a lot of weird maneuverability on this guy. So these guys are going to be interesting to see how they fly, especially if you want to fly them as a swarm. Another thing that we learned about this from the article is that the different ships are all going to be configured differently. Now, this is just very weird. For example, if we just look at the ship itself, like for our 1 and our 3, our basic 1 and basic 3 are going to, have a lot of missile and torpedo slots, like doubling up on those. But whereas some of the other options are going to have different upgrades. Also, some of the different versions all have different, so we need to make sure we're looking at all of the upgrade, all of the ability, the actions that they can take, because they're not all going to be the same. Like, all of these are going to be different. Really weird. All right, so basically, if we're just looking at the base model of the ship, you do have only 2 attack, 2 agility, 5 hull, very much similar to the Imperial bomber, your TIE bomber. Just very reminds you of that. Pilot skill or initiative here is only 1. You do have networked calculations, so again, you're still able to borrow those calculate tokens from nearby ships, which makes these great because they're going to work with your vulture droids. Network calculations it's just a big part of, I think, any separatist kind of swarm. It's very much a droid theme, and in the future, I think you'll have more options with separatists as you have more one-shot characters like Darth Maul and stuff like that, where you can build like maybe your Sith swarm, but or not Sith swarm, but your Sith group of fighters. You're gonna have like Dooku, maybe Asajj, and Maul at some point. But for now, I think a very important aspect of this faction is the networked calculations sharing. So I think that's just going to be really important, and the fact that they're doing that on multiple ships, I think, is really important as well. So we can reload, we can barrel roll into target lock. Target lock obviously is important because so much of the ordnance for torps and missiles all want you to target lock. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Additionally, we get our separatist bomber here, who is initiative 3, and there's been a lot. Like 3 is pretty solid. 4 would probably be a little better because there's so much more emphasis on these mid-range initiative. For all of the new factions, so much stuff is around 3 and 4, where it's really allowing 5 and 6 to be your aces. But and it's. I think that's really a lot of the trade-off here is like that 3 and 4 sweet spot versus the 5 and 6 sweet spots. So 3 is still a little bit low. You're just kind of relying on numbers rather than being able to rely on your initiative here. We have the Bactoid prototype. So here's an interesting one. While you perform a special attack if a friendly ship with the networked calculations ship ability has a lock on the defender, you may ignore the requirement of that attack. So you can. Here's a great a great option for launch and stuff, and you don't have to. Again, you're only initiative 1, so you can go in and just maybe just calculate and then fire something that requires a. Like this one's really cool, but it does want you to have somebody who's kind of higher that could get that target lock, right? Which is very cool. We've got the bombardment drone. Now they did talk about that the bombardment drone is not going to have the doubles of all the missiles and torps. That this one's going to have more device slots. And so like now your upgrades are going to be different from the bombardment drone. If you would drop a device, you may launch the device instead using the same template. Well, that's pretty cool. So you make it a little unpredictable, and you can have only 3 of these. You can't just go completely heavy, crazy bomber swarm. But that's all right. That works. DBS 32 Charlie. First thing that is going to be really different about this is jam. He has jam, and so he doesn't relay, or he doesn't reload. He has jam. At the start of the engagement phase, you spend a calculate token to perform the coordinate action. You cannot coordinate ships that do not have the networked calculations ship ability. That's awesome, right? You're coordinating now. Like this is you're the leader of your swarm. You also have DBS 404. While performing your primary attacks at range 0, you can while you perform an attack that's at range 0 to 1, you must roll an additional die, and then if it hits, you suffer critical damage. So he's erratic, wants to attack, and if it hits, you suffer a crit. So he's not going to last that long, but that's cool. But it's like your Arvel Krind of the Separatists. I think I do want to talk about. They also said that DBS 32C also can carry the new tactical relay, which is kind of a really big deal because now you've got like this cheaper option ship, which will be presumably cheaper. We haven't seen point costs, but this will probably be cheaper than taking Dooku or Darth Maul into battle with your swarm. So you can really get that tactical relay on board on one of your swarmy ships, which is a really, really cool deal. All right, so we also got some new upgrades. So we got the delayed fuses, which is interesting, and they do just to clarify, because we did already see one of the other the new device. Delayed fuses, however many delayed fuses, the fuse markers you have, you're only removing one when they. So if anytime you would have more than one delayed fuses, that just delays it even further. So this one says after you drop, launch, or place a bomb or mine, you may place a fuse marker on that device. And basically a fuse marker is just saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and instead of detonating this as normal, I'll take a fuse marker off. If you happen to have 2, you're not going to just take them both off. You'll just take one. So, and this one says you may. So the cool thing about this is you're able to choose if you want to or not. We are getting landing struts for the Hyena Bombers. Now we're getting a separate. This is not for just the regular Vulture droid. So it does seem like they do want to they're keeping with the tradition of like micromanaging who can take what when they have landing struts open and closed. This one is specifically for the Hyena Bomber card, and that's a pretty good idea in case maybe, presumably this will be a cheap upgrade if not free. But if for whatever reason, if it turns out that these guys are overpowered with it as the regular Vulture droids aren't, now they can control, all right, well, this one is going to cost more points now, whereas the other one won't, or things like that. So that's kind of, I think, the idea of why they're making separate cards here. I already talked about the Electro Proton Bomb, but if you haven't already seen my video, I will put a link to that at the end of the video. The Electro Proton Bomb it comes out with a fuse marker on it automatically. This one is not a may, though. You have to put at least one fuse marker on here if for some reason there exists a way that you can potentially run delayed fuses and Electro Proton Bomb. And I don't believe there's any ship that can actually take 2 mods that can also equip that also has the reload and the bomb, unless it escapes me at the moment. But currently I don't believe there's any way that you could do that, like where you could get 2 fuse markers on here, but I might be overlooking something. Point is, you have to have at least 1 on here. And when it blows up, it's going to have everything range 1 to 2, or 0 to 2. And you're going to be rolling 4 dice, and every result does something, whether it takes away shields, gives you ion, or weapons disabled. Crit gives you weapons disabled. I think it's hit or focus gives you, removes shields, and the blank gives you ion, or vice versa for those. But basically, for the most part, you're going to be getting ionized. I think it's blanks remove shields. Now I don't have the rules reference right in front of me, but basically you're getting, it's going to drain your shields. It's going to give you lots of ionized tokens, and you also might get a weapons disabled token. and it's range the 2. It is unique, and very few ships can take it. But again, I already did a whole video talking about this, so I'll kind of defer you to check out that video, because I don't want to waste too much time talking about the Electro Proton Bomb. It seems like it's really nasty, but you can at most launch 1 in a whole game, because you can only have 1 in your list, and it cannot be recovered. So, and it's also got a fuse timer on it, so you're going to broadcast where the bomb's going to blow up, and people have time to get away. So, it might not be as nasty as we think. This one's really cool. The Diamond Boron Missiles. 3 attack die, range 2 to 3, has 3 charge on it, takes up 2 missile slots. I wish I knew how much it cost, though. You have to have a target lock, all right? You're going to spend the charge. And of course, you don't have to spend the target lock. You can spend the target lock on the roll, though, so you don't have to spend the target lock to launch it. You know, it's always a good thing. And granted, that's kind of the norm now, but I always like pointing that out, because that was one of the big problems, I think, in 1.0. So you always had to spend, almost always had to spend that target lock also, so you could never modify your ordnance, and people were like, what? You know, so, yeah, that's exactly what people were like. They were like, what? All right, so, but if the attack hits, you can spend a charge, and then each ship range 0 to 1 of the defender with agility equal to or less than the defender's rolls an attack die and suffers a hit crit damage depending on what they rolled. So basically, it hits and splinters and hits everybody else right near. So this is definitely really going to be really good against swarms. The thing is, you're incentivized to go for a target with high agility, which also gives you a lower chance of actually hitting. Right? So like ideally, like I think the sweet spot is you go for somebody with like 2 agility and then you hit the whole swarm. You know, if you go for somebody that's a guaranteed hit, it's going to deflect and probably have a lower chance of hitting whoever else it wants to deflect to. Very cool design here. And it's also not guaranteed damage, because you still have to roll a die, and you might roll a blank or an eyeball and then not take any damage anyway. And it's only range 0 to 1, so it's not like you're going to hit that many. If you're flying a real tight swarm, though, you could end up hitting the whole thing. It's very interesting, and considering that you can actually spend your target lock on attack now. But here's where networked calculations comes in, because you really, to guarantee it, you're going to need those 3 hits. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Now, it does have 3 charges, which basically means you're going to get maybe two, at most 2 chances to do this. Of course, you can, there's nothing in here that's stopping you from recovering charge on it as well. And we get a new tactical relay. This one is pretty cool. TA-175. After a friendly ship at range 0 to 3, so good range, with calculate on its action bar is destroyed, each friendly ship at range 0 to 3 with calculate on its action bar gains a calculate token. The thing that's really cool here is that you're gaining the token. You don't have to take the action. So you're gaining new tokens actually during the engagement phase, which is really cool, because that can potentially trigger other things when, anything that triggers off of you gaining a calculate token. There's different things that can result from this. So this guy actually looks really cool, especially for the swarm, because you spend all those tokens you want, because as soon as they start shooting back, it basically is encouraging you to spend all of your calculate tokens for offense, because as soon as you lose one ship, then you're going to start, you're going to repopulate all the calculate tokens for defense. I very much like this one. Not sure if I like it better than all the other ones that are out there, but I think it's going to be a really good option to bring into a heavy swarm, especially with this little guy right here, with DBS 32C, because of, you're just going to maximize the number of droids that you have. I think it's pretty cool, but I would love to hear what you guys think. What do you think of this preview? Are you excited for Wave 4 coming to Star Wars X-Wing? Let me know in the comments section below. I want to thank all of my patrons. I just announced the winner of 3 promo cards on Patreon. So if you are a patron, make sure you go over there and check and send me a private message with your shipping information. I will get those promos out to you. There's 2 Armada promos and an X-Wing promo. So make sure you check that out for the patrons. Also, if you're interested in becoming a patron, I have a link for all that stuff down in the description below. Big thanks to you guys for continued support. I want to thank all of you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.